capable tactic. Alright, so we're holding, as far as I remember, by the end of the Maimon Lech Lecho. We got down to the Sima, the Os on Omet Tov Nun. And we saw that the Reach of the Keteres of Yom Kippurim, which was based on Avedis HaTshuva, and it's in as Bo Min HaMeitza Davke, Min HaMeitza Korosi, well, that's the Indian from the Chayza, the Indian from Min HaMeitza. Well, like we saw, that was the Indian of Davke to be Minatzeb the Managi, Davke, when there's a Kwer HaNigud, and that was the Indian of the Reach Chorif, the Tzike Kedera, with the whole in Davke. That is Magia in the Union from Shemin Atoi, which is Pnimius Atik. And we drew a difference between the Union from Makif de Chayza, which is all connected with Ketera, but it's Ketera Sheba Heichal, and the Ketera Sheba Kedesh HaKadoshim, and Yom Kippurim is connected Davke with the Oyer Chayza, with the Union, the Makif of Oyer Chayza, and that's Magia in Pnimius Chochmes Timoach, or Moiches Timoach, but that's the Union from Pnimius Atik. But that's where we'll hold. So we say now, Valpia now, we go back to the Shilas at the beginning of the Maimah. Valpia now, Yuvan, Masha Oma, Vayemer, Hashem, El Avrom, Lech Lecho. Die doet Avrom, hu Avrom. But down in Torah, the Alter Rebbe brings down at the beginning of the Maimah in Lech Lecho in Torah. But that's a Seichel Hanelam Mikol Rayon. The Indian of Seichel, how it is B'Shorshay, or it's Nelam Bentayim from any Rayon. What Rayon is Indian from Gilu Seichel, and that's the Indian of Chochmah, how it is a Dayan in the Indian from Etzem Mikol, in the Indian from Etzem of Shalamayla Mia Seichel. Beginnes Moichesti Moa. Well, that's be even clearly the Indian of Seichel is still in Kwer HaMaskil. It's brought down in Eter and other places, Barichas. But that's the Madregas HaSeichel, how it is in the Kwer HaYuli HaSikli, which is Kwer HaMaskil, or even Lamaila Mizeh. And that's the Indian, what he brings over there, the Alter Rebbe, that's the Indian of Chochmas Timor, Moiches Timor. And that's how Avram is mitadetzim madrigose. However, when the Abish said to him Lech Lecho, that in the Kavanah was on the big day lahamship of Prince Pnimius Vadmus Moiches Timor, Prince Moiches Datika Mamish, that there should be a Hamshocher from that level, meaning it should be Niskala Lamata. Alzer Omar, that was the Chivui Lech Lecho. That you must go liberty to yourself. Right? We were medactic at the beginning of the Maimah, that the Lashon Lech Lecho is, brings down there from the Al Shichadus, Lech Lecho means to go to yourself, literally, to go to your Etzem Madrege, Lech Lecho, go to your Etzem Shurish, or Mokeh, of your Nishoma, in order to reach that level of Moicha Datika Mamish, that it should be able to be nimshach the atzmias of Chochmas Timor Mamish Lamata. Al zer Omer Lech Lecho she'agir l'shershay u'mekoirei ein lo l'sherish u'mokeh nishmosei b'chinas makif di'yechida. That he had to first of all reach on that level of the sherish u'mokeh of his neshama in order that it should be nimshach b'gilui. And that was the Indian of Makif the Yechida, because we saw that the Makif of Chayo that was seen, Makif out in Yosha, that comes down and brings the Makif in a oven of Siyui ala Pnimi, it's Mamshich, to be Moisif, at Tosefes Gilui in the Pnimi. But that was seen in a Makif the Chayo. Makif the Yechida, the Pnimis V'atzmiyas. So, when you first look at it, it's a little bit strange, because he says that the Madrega of Avram Avinu mitzad atzmei is the union of an Avram, but that's the Seichel Anelam and Anelam Mikol Ayin, but that's the union from Moiches Timor. And then he says, Omnom B'Tela Hamshi B'chinas Pnimiyas Moiches Timor. Yeah, and then he says Avram Avinu's got to go into Rishor Shumokeh. Rishor Shumokeh is anyway Avram Seichel Anelam Mikol. Right, and is anyway Moiches Timor. He was Yekila the beer. What's going to what, as it were. So what's possible to say is we find there two biurim in Siddur. And the Rebbe brings down, what does he not bring down? The Rebbe Melech Mashiach brings it in one of the Maimorim, that in more than one place, more than one Maimon, that the Inif and Lech Lecho can be taken either Milmaila Lamato or Milmata Lamaila. In other words, Lech Lecho can be the Amshocha and Yerida of Aron of Ram, from the Seichel Anelam Kol Rayon, and he should be Nimshech Lamata into the Inyan Agilui. And that's a Pshat Lech Lecho, you go down and be Miskala. And therefore you bring, that's the shitta that he uses at the Gilui, or rather the Oven Abiyah in Torah over there. And in order to assist Avram Avinu going downwards, that he should come from Seichel Anelam, which is Nelam, we call Ryan, Ki Pshuta means it's moved off from Gilui, and give him the koyach to go down and be Miskala, and then there's an Asinus koyach, Milmaila, Tosefes koyach from the Mebishn, but that's the Kei Iloah, which was in the Tosef Bishmoy. Instead of Avram, he became Avrohom. And that's the union of Bina, that's a mile of Bina over Chochma, like he's Mavlo. There's certain miles in the Sheresh Abina, feel over Chochma. That's the Pnimis V'atzmius from Bina, Kei Iloah, is Nimshach into Avram, that gives him the koyach to take the Moiches Timor, the Seichel Anelam Mikol Rayon, down into Ayin Shogilu. Therefore, Lech Lecho means to go down. Or there's another beer that Lech Lecho means to go up. In other words, that Avram Avinu is to go up into his Etzem Madrega, from Gilui into Stima and Pnimius of Achimis of his own Madrega. And that's what we find in the famous Lech Lecho in Tov Reish Nun Hey. That's called by the Chasidim the Fruma Lech Lecho. And there the Rebbe brings the famous beer, the Alshit, that when they said to him, Lech Lecho, he meant to go to the Sheresh of your own Neshama, to find the Ike Pnimis and Sheresh of your Neshama, which means that he's got to go upwards to something that's not yet Pagolo Etzloi, and Dafki Misham, he'll be Mamshik the Inyan of Pnimis V'atzmis Chokmas Timor, which is Atika Kadisha. And that's Inyan from Machif the Yechida. So we have to say that so the Nesinas Koyach is from the same Mokeh. Ultimately, the Nesinas Mokim for him to go down when he's already in a state of elevation and of dollar, that's from Pnimis Bina, or that's from Kesa. Pnimis Bina, the Inifan Ati. And here, the beer is that he's got to go upwards, the Lech Lecho, he's got to go out altogether of your present level into the union of Pnimius Moiches Timor, and that will bring it down Lamata. So Lefize, we have to say that ultimately the Nesinas Koyach from the same Madrega, or from the same level. The Shaila is whether it's given Malchatchila by the Rebishter, or whether Avraham Avinu Zela Milmala Lamaila, and he is anyway Gila Zali Day Avidos Sehu. So we have to say L'Shnei Pshatim that this is that even if we'll say that he can see his koyach as Milmaila, then Alidei in Yonim, what he done up to now, Avraham Avinu was in some way or another worthy, or he was zeiche, that there should be a zan sinus koyach. Alidei kol mashu asa ad koyach. There's one other, he was already 90 years old, or whatever it was. It was 70. He was 75 years old when the Avis said to him, Lecho. You know, Avraham Avinu hadn't been sloughing her around Adkoi. There's been a lot of vinyonim, so therefore we have to say that Ein Hanami, but not that the etzem avodah of Lech Lecho itself was Aliyah Mumat Alamayla L'Shorosh Nishmosei. According to Kisver, I really don't know if you're supposed to hold your fingers like that. It's Edifa. We have to say that like this bio, Avraham Avinu is not nimtza mamish b'madrigos ha'atzmiyas. He has a assurance, he has a mokiv assurance, eilov hu yachol lahagia v'assurance nishmas is gavoya b'yotza. But if said him lech lechoy, you got to go upwards, there's a simon that bereg is there, he's not mamish b'madrigos. But either like the other bio, we're talking about that's in Yonah. The shal is how do we get it lamata? How do we just bring it lamata? Adafar, we have to say that even though Sheresh Mokin Ishmosai is takid is, we have to learn that it's not always Petafis Akiloi by Avraham Avinu, even Leor Kol Masha Avraham Avinu Hoyo. We have to say that it wasn't necessarily always made by him Petachlis Akiloi. And therefore we say, Lech Lechoy, you should go upwards into that Madrega, Ulai. Then there's a mile in the Etzem Yiscalas, maybe when we say that then he's the Indian of Sherish Nishma B'chidus Machif, the Yechida, maybe what that's Etzem Pnimisatik, maybe that's even higher than what is Alidei the Iken Nasinis Koyach Milmaila Lamata. Achaponim Yesh Ledaktik B'zeh Uid, but that's the Indian by even Kloli, that's how it is. But if you read it, just even a key portion, immediately it becomes clear that whether the he has to go up to if that's sure as Mokin Nishmase was dafür gehen again. Ella was the Simon that Lav Davki he was always holding Mamish b'madrega zu imko ma'alosa. V'alze oma mi'atzocho, and in that is written Pirush mi'atzius for chumiyas. In other words, that even Avraham Avinu had to get out of the Archius and the Chumis. What that implies that he wasn't mamish b'shleimus gilui shorish nishmosei kol hazman. In other words, that this was a point in his life where he was nickness the Indian ilui od haber tegodl miad koi. And therefore, we have to say that certain inyonim were, how do you call it, even from Menagid to the Etchem Minim from Avedus Avrom, and therefore they were in Yom of Oilom, but they needed to be Misbara or to be Misbatel. And therefore he said you have to go out of the arches in the Chumriyas, or Canal de la Hagila, B'chinas Machav di Yechide, B'chinas Hazaz Atzmuyus, Zeu Shebo Mina Menagid, B'koyach Chayza, Tafkin, like we learned earlier in the Maimon, also in the last days. Then in order to reach the Tachlis Ha'ilui, does it have Kalidei Ayin from Amanag? But like we saw the Indian from the Mile from Tsar, I feel over Oineg, one in the clan. There's only Zankin Tsar by Kainum. But nonetheless, we saw that there's a Mile in the Indian from Tsar, I feel like Abidin in Oineg, because it's a Indian from Menagi to the Etzem Stil of the Mensch, the Etzem way of Mensch is Kipoyet. He's in his Lianig as Ayin. A Tsar is Epoch, therefore the Indian from Tsar brings to Minameita Ko, Rosi Ko comes to the Kriya in Atzmis Mami. Therefore, that's a Indian from Azoz's Atzmis, a movement of the Etzem and that's in van euer Choizer. And Mamira Zehu Lechla Chor, that the Eibishter said to Avram, you have to reach the mile of an euer Choizer. That's the Chiddush in this pshat, like I the first pshat. It's not so much a Siyuya Milmaila, but it's a Veda Bekoyach Atzmei Mamish, that is Magiyele, Leetzim in Inyan, Shoyrish Nishmosei Al Yedei, the Hazozes Koratz Musi, Beavedis Ha Nigud Elamanage. Vezeu Lech Lecho Mi Artsucho, Shahiluk Yeh Mi Ha-Altsias Ve'achumiyas. Ali deze Yegile beginnen Sherish Moki or Artsmi denne Shome, not of the Makif de dan Makif de Yechida. Vezo Gamke Masha Omer B'Midrash, Moshe Letzluchi shall a full Simon, and we saw that was a very beautiful smelling oil. Sheyeh Reichoi Neidev, that if you'll be moved around, then you'll be like a Tzluchi shall full Simon, that if you move it around, it gives off this, even though it's inside the bottle, but it gives off this beautiful smell. As if you'll be moved around, then you give off this tremendous smell. Sheyeh Reichei Noidif, Dainu Reich Akteirus, Shu Inyan Reich Hateshuva. Well, that's the Inyan Beklar of Lechla. Amam is that man. Lecheret is a Inyan from Avedis HaTshuva in Lech Lecha. So, Ein Lachanami Ba'arom Avinu, maybe it wasn't Tshuva Kipshutei, but that was in a Sinus Koyach, L'Kol HaDeres, that there'd be a Inyan Shop, Yechoilas, Ve'atzlach in the Inyan from Avedis HaTeshiva. And that's what he says, Ba'arom Avinu, Over Sholem Hoya Zeh, Inyan and Nisyoines. Shali Zeh, Bol Machiv Tiechide. The Inyan from Nisyoines, is Davke the Aveda Keneged Amanagid Kemuhu, and the famous man of the Alter Rebbe in Kutatera Pasha Riyeh, and after that by all the Rebbeim from Pasik Kimanasa Hashem Alekechem Eschem Lodas, the Davke through the Inyan of Nisoyan, what he's Mavai over there, the Alter Rebbe, the Nisoyan is not something Alpi Seichel. It doesn't make any sense. Why should that be? Why should there be a Zah Bilbo? Why should he be going through such a Inyan? And therefore, the nitzutz b'toich zeh is not a nitzutz ragir; it's a nitzutz godel me'eda. Therefore, it comes be'elam godel, even from menagi to the inyan kedusha davke. Either in the meaning of manias momen or manias prius, or he brings over that the altar ever. And the Davke Alidei that you stand strong in the Nesoyen is Merlevoid is not to fight with the Nesoyen or try to make sense out of it or try to be Mavarat, but just to stand Keneged the Menagid. And Alidei said becomes bottle because Be'em was saying Bezematzias, it was all just a Ein von Nesoyen Bilvad for Chulu. Kemavur dort. Bariches in that famous Maimon Lekutatera and Boed Drushim Me'arabim. Avram Avinu had that in him. His Avedis HaTshuva was in even from Davke from the Sionis. Not Tshuva, or is it Dvarim Shlilim, because Avram Avinu was Merkova, it's not really Shaipai Ma'invan. Elim Kain Tzadikaya B'tiyuvta, but that appears to be Mamish Ayin, which will be Mamish Kodim Bias HaMoshiach. That's even a higher and hecher Ayin, like we saw at the end of the last Maimon. Aval upon him the Ayin from the Sionis. Even though we ask every day, day nisoyin, we're not allowed to ask. We are quite, justified in not asking for a nisoyin. And after we became, we see the gewaldige Meile that there isn't the way that a nisoyin. So some man need the famous Shiloh asks himself, Admor Sai. And he walks into the door and reflects the Shiloh Admor Sai. So if we're in a mood for slight quips, we could say, Admasa, is he going to come late and start coming on time? Anyway, we have to be careful with a kohen, Torish Pogezang Bekovid, all these in a kohen. Alchem von him, he gives a very woolly nod of his head, as I say, yeah, I don't know. Alchem von him, Yesh Lema, that we could say, that doing the Inyanim do Kilo Aremas, Yatzali Lakshov Bezeh, put down on the Kisve Arizal, and also brought in Maimorim from Rabbeim, that when the Abishah said to Avraham Avinu, Lech Lecha, that was a whole new turn in Avraham Avinu's, inverted commas, career. So it was a whole new turn in the whole Seder HaOlam. And it was the beginning of the Alpayim Shneis Torah. Up until then it had been the Alpayim Shneis Tohu. And it was beginning, that was the beginning. In other words, that the Haschola, the Inim for Matan Torah, began when Avraham Avinu took on himself the Aveda from Lech Lecha. I state, Kakatu. Come together to this, and we gather that in that Inim from Lech Lecha, there are two Ifanim. Either it's Milmaila Lamata Bi'ika, even though, as we pointed out, if that shot, there's some close dependence in the previous Milas of Vedas Avraham Avinu, or it's in this Ivanir Milmatala Maila, and then Ulai Yesh Lema, that he comes in a higher Madriga Hecharainian is Miskale. So maybe we could say that's a remes to the two Inyanim in Matan Torah. On the one hand, we see the Matan Torah was Vayered Hashem Al Har Sinai, was Milmaila Lamata. The Ikin for Matan Torah is Milmaila Lamata, and it remains that Inyan in Torah of Milmaila Lamata. However, it's Mavur B'kol HaDrushim B'kol HaMakaim is that Dafka Day that Vayered Hashem Al Har Sinai, and that Nasinas Koyach, it became the possibility of the Avedas HaOlam to be Ma'aled the Dvorima Agashmiyim, and to be Metakin the Inyan HaOlam, and to make it Dafki a Kli, when Dafki the Avedas HaOlam becomes in a even that it's Poyo Inyanim Milmatala Maila Mashenkim, but the always it wasn't so much that Ika Avidoso. And that's the whole, what you might call Shleimus of Matan Torah. The Avedas HaOlam becomes Sholem Do Lamata B'Oilama Agashmi Alidei, makes a Kli out of the Dvorima Agashmi. Therefore, we'd say, therefore, in Avraham Avinu's Lech Lecha, well, that's the beginning, according to the Arizal. Well, that's the beginning of the Gilui and the Yichud, which the Elim, which is involved in Matan Torah. That's like the first beginning of it. And it had to be those two Inyanim, those two Pirushim and two Eifanim. One is Milmaila Mata, or that's Ika Gilui of Matan Torah, and the other is Milmatala Lamaila, well, that's another Inyan, another perfection in the Inyan for Matan Torah. Dafki has to be she Yagir L'Shereshu Makoiri Bekoyach Atzmi, and even for Milmatala Lamaila. Kein Yesh Eloima B'derech Efsha. I'd say is reingefallen with Kanef Shalanan as a Mahala. Edefa, says the Rebbe, that's the Inyan of the Tzluchi Shala for Sliman. She Reichet Noider, in other words, should give off a beautiful smile. Ta'inu Reich HaKitoros, or that's the Inyan of Tshuva, the Aliyah Milmatala Lamaila B'Teikev, or that's Inyan from Tshuva. Or Avraham Avinu, Hoyezeh, Inyan HaNisyainus, Shalidei Zeh, Bola B'chinas Machiv Tiachida, V'zehu, that's what's written in the Medrash, that the Abishah said to him, Taltel Atzmecho Mimokim L'mokim. Literally, slip from one place to the other, move yourself around, B'nesiyes. And in Yonim of that nature, Mimokim L'mokim, V'alidei Zeh, Reichecha, Neideif, K'moshel HaTzluchi Shel HaFulful So Simon. The Inyan from Taltel Atzmecho Mimokim L'mokim, with that Inyan from Nisyainus, and the Inyan from Koishi, from moving to one place to the Adya. But it's very interesting that we find that by the Baal Shem Tov, even even Aveda, that he traveled a lot. He made all sorts of nesiyos. Mimokim L'mokim, after his scholars, not so much prior to these scholars, or after these scholars, given Zera Sach nesiyos, Po, Sham, Gefor Naher, and Gefor Nehin. Some of them were sudden nesiyos, getting into the coach and driving off and going here and going there with Inyanim Nifloim, there was Poel, Yeshua is B'kol HaMekayim is V'chulu. Ve'ilu the Magid, we see the Magid's Indian was to be nimtza b'mokim echad. We don't find the Magid trying around. He was even he was unable to move. So the Magid well known that he was slightly lamed in one foot and so on with the whole arichas. He used to go with a crutch, etc. The Magid Iki Inyone was to be poiled by the Gedolei HaTorah. They all came to, or they all came to him. All the Grois and Nitzutzes came looking for him. And there's well-known stories that the Magid was to be mamshik people to him. He made all sorts of amazing kilo piulas in Ruchnes that these people should dafke come el Makoi Moihu. So we see that he poiled the Magid that should be kilo. These people would come and then they would all be ne'afach le'oiv de Hashem nifloim b'koyach what he was poiled, say, and that then there was a union of ufaratza. They had to go around and spread the union. What the Baal Shem Tov also had in Yonim Misuk Zeh. But that wasn't Ike Hadrisha Mi HaTalmidim, they wasn't a room game. But again to the Magid's Talmudim, we do find that there were certain of them, and therefore Bzushim and the Rebbe Melech Melechens, they used to travel around all over the place. Begolus, taking on themselves all sorts of Kishoyim and all sorts of Yonim, and traveling and going, and Metaltel Satzman, Mimokim Lamakim, Al-Hopanim. That the Magid was poiled that in the Indian from Davke Milmatala Maila in the Talmudim Zaina. Therefore the Alter Rebbe went to prison. What they going to do is he says I can't say the from Nishonas and the Dvorim Koshim. Baveda Davke Milmatala Maila betoch Yegia mit the Indian of the that's maybe the two inyonim in Matan Torah, Pnimis HaTorah. There had to be a Inyam Milmaila, the Baal Shem Tov Zika Keser, what is it, Pnimis HaKeser, this is Milmaila. And then there had to be the Inyan Yosef Milmatala Maila, Kain Yesh Loima, B'derech Efshe. Amamela is the Hiluch, Eli Yesh Bechinas Hiluch. What that Inyan from Tauta Atzmacha is a Inyan from Nisyonis, but that brings to a Inyan progress. How do you call it? Hiluch mivdagele dag. Actually, but koyach or choize has to be dafke neged amanagid me outzuchot dafke from the dvorim hamanagdim. Dainu the dvorim ha'altzim b'chumiyim. The dafke from zei on al yedei the avoid negedom. Then he comes to the Ibamel. The pshat is lech lecho meyartecho. Dafke from going out of and fighting the, as it were, the pulling force of artzkova melatecho. As he doesn't so. Ve'al yidei zeh shimkom is gadol. Then we had another kasha that the Eibush promises Avram gadlo shmecha. And the Rebbe asked Yishayel, what in by Avram Avinu, he was a very nervous dikamensh and a bottle dikamensh. What interested him, the Inyan from Gadlus Hashem. And therefore, he gives now a beer, what does it mean, Shimko Mishkader? So says the Rebbe, the Inyan Agdolus Hashem, in Emerson, that's the Inyan Lamayla. Alidei Avedus Avram in the Inyan for Lech Lecha. And that Inyan, how it is Lamayla, or that'll be nimshich lamata in Avram Avinu, or beikid the Sayin in Lamayla. If you bother the Sayin in Alakus, the Avram Avinu was very pleased with it, but not that it was Sayin for him personally. The Inyan Agdolas Hashem, who am shochas b'china shmoyho atzmi. In other words, the Inyan from Shem, how it's kol biat atzmusay. The other pshat shmoyho atzmi. The error is mamish kol b'atzmusay. B'chinas helem o atzmi da'in say, or that which is kol inside the atzmi. And that's what's written in the Picha de Eliezer, the ad shaloi nivra ha'oilom ha'yehu u'shmei bilvad, or levad. V'nishpur liyel perek reish tezayin, we were masber, it's not so long ago, it's not so long ago. Shezei inyan shem echad shelamayla mi'azayin shem shmoi levad, that's in from shmoi how it is, b'mekoyre, they mean from shem echad. Meaning, just one and only shame, the mocky of all shames. שלמעלה מהזעים זין שמש, והוא שר בחינת שם מד תיקון. That's the Nesinas Koyach for the Indian of the Shem Mad Tikkun was in Yoni is to be Mavara Toyu. After there's already been the Nephilos and the Tutus to Toyu, and the collapse of Olam HaToyu and the ability to be literally Boiner after the Stira, well, that's the Indian from Shem Ma of Olam HaTikkun, and that comes from a very high Madreya because it comes to be Matakin and be Mashlim, as a word, the Nephilis Alidei in Ashvila. It departs from a very high Madrega, and it's well known as Stam Shmoi Echad or Shmoi Hagode or V'chulu is the Indian from the Shem Havaya. Well, we have to say that the Kavona is in the Shem Havaya Deliela, because well known that in Shem Havaya there's two Madregas, Shem Havaya outside to the Esses Spheres, Be'ika, or the Indian from Pnimis Vatzmi Shem Havaya, which is the Shem Havaya Deliela, or that Shem Havaya, which is the Shem HaAtzmi, the Shem HaEtem. Well, that's Yesh Lema the Kavona here. That's the Shur, Shem Ma the Tikkun. Yesh Lema Gamkein, the Hagdolos Hashem, who she Hagdolos Hashem Mibchina Shmoi HaAtzmi. Amamira, the Indian from Shmoi Stam, or the Indian from Shem Echad Shalamalami, Shem Alchaponim, it's a Giri from Shem, and it becomes the Indian from Tikkun. Or the Indian from Hagdolos Hashem, that it is a Giri, the Shmoi Adis, who Shmoi Bilvad, in the Indian of the Shem Havayadale. In other words, an even higher Giri, the Indian from Shmoi Alt Kol Mamish Beat Musay. Amamira, that's the Indian from Hagdolos Hashem. There's the Gili of the Shem HaAtzmi, HaKol Beat Musay, in the Indian from Shmoi Agotio. And therefore, we're the Indian from Hagdolos Hashem. Bezehu ve'agadlo shmer. I said, what's it got to do with Avram Avinu? Huh?
Talking about the Shmo of Kodesh Baruch Hu.
Yeah, it's all talking Lamaila. All talking Lamaila. Yeah, that's what we're going to say now. עכשיו אנחנו מתקנים את זה. וזהו, הגדלו שמר חוש, שזהו מיילה גדולה באברהם. In other words, what's it do, mיילה גדולה באברהם? We're talking about the Shem Ad Isla. Yeah, we have about the Shem Ad Isla Mיילה. So we have to say that Ein Hanami, that was Nimchach Lamate in Avedasa Avram Avinu. That was Miskale Alidei Avram Avinu. And therefore, Agadlo Shmecha doesn't mean I'm going to make your name great, but you will be Megale my Shem HaAtzmi. That's the title, that your name will become great. In other words, you'll become the medium through which my Shem HaAtzmi is going to be Miskale. And therefore, that was a Maila Gedela by Avram. In other words, if he calls Avram Avinu as Anochi off of the Efer, his whole Indian, he doesn't have anything fuzzy like it's brought down in Tanya, that he was the Indian from Polamata, he was the Indian from Merkova, Midas HaChesed Shalamayla, All Inyonim Lamayla, he was just a Merkova for Agilu Shalehem. Like Alter brings out there. He had no Matthias Liatzman, and therefore he was able to be the Indian from Gilu Midas Chesed Achilas Pola Lamata, wasn't he? Is the far that's the Indian of Agadlo Shmech is also Indian Lamaila. It's also the Indian from the Indian is Lamaila. It's not for him. If he balls he's Anochi off of Eifa, the Indian is also Mishkala Al Yodei. And therefore that's a grace of Maila by Avram, that the Avish's name will be able to be Mishkala Al Yodei. Therefore he chapted Avram. Or not that we're just saying you're going to become a big name in the press. You know, and this doesn't gemein. It could be that Avram Avinu also got into the press. I don't doubt that he did. Whatever was the press in those days. So therefore is the Rebbe, that's the Indian of Agadlo Shmelcha, זה מיילה גדולה באברהם. וכל זה הוא על ידי האילו בבחינת חויזר. Oh, this is Davke through the Indian of Mata Milmaila Sheyagil Asherish Makoira, as we saw earlier, that he goes backwards and upwards. Lechle Cho. So Vayem Hashem El Avram B'china Seichel Ha Nelom Lechle Cho. In other words, you have in yourself as Amadregev Seichel Nelam Yeah, but that Seichel Hanel's got an even higher Shoresh, which is the Indian from, as we saw, Pnimius Atik, Mamish. Therefore you have to go, Milmatala, Lamaila, to the Etchem, the Shoresh Achmi, a Makerfa Achmi, Vahuinian Tautel Achma. In other words, the Seichel Hanel, we call Rayon, the Indian from Pnimius Achochma. And it's Indian from, they called, Chochma Stimor. The Shoresh of that is Moichas Stimor, Hapinim Pnimius, Moichas Stimor, which is Pnimius Ati. And therefore, you got to go back into the Shoresh Atzmi of Yoma Draiga. The Shoresh Al is in Atzmius Mamish, and then that'll be Miskale, the name from Rayach, the Keteros, the name from Makif, the Yechida Mamish will be Miskale in the world. Makerva Achmi Vahuinian Tautel Achmacho Drezacha, a room literally in the world. You go from Mokim Lamokim, Validezeh will be the Aliyah, V'yiyeh Ahiluch, Me'alchcho, B'koyacher Choizer, that you'll fight against the whole Indian from the Gashmis V'chumias Oilom, and you'll be Oilom Mitoichzeh, Validezeh Shimcho Mizgadel, that your name will become great, the B'china Shmoyo Achmi Yoyebe, that the Shem Ha'atz Kol Mamish and Atzmusi is Borach, Eichel Mim, who Shmoy Bil Vod, Mamish, or that'll be Miskalala, Lamata Al Yidei Avroma, Al Yidei Avroma Avinu, Bamira, that's the type that Avroma Avinu's name will become great. Imam Kumta, he said, Avroma Avinu is a man, was Kol Inyone is just to get things in Elakus working. That's his whole inner. Never they was go Matel Maila gave him door his door. There's a time Pnimius Atik and there's a Rob Kuman Lamata, and then we'll have the Indian from Dus, we'll have Gil Elakus in the world, and everybody will know Phil Shmia Achmim, and they're going to say that's what you are, that's your whole Indian. But if I gay door, 2 doors, yeah, and I wrong just he's already quite an adult individual, and he's already been through a lot, and the whole miles. So the Abe says to him, sorry, lech lekor, geidach, gehin, geher. Even though the Ramban holds that it wasn't, that the Abe told him to go to Mitzrayim. That Avram Avinu's own decision, and the Ramban criticizes Avram Avinu Mishum Zeh. Or in other places, it's much more that was Gufa part of the Kavanah. That if he wanted, he should go down to Mitzrayim. I feel he was in the midst of all this tremendous aliyahs. He had to go down and bring out a lot of inyonim in Mitzrayim. Therefore, that was all part of the Kavanah Aliyah V'chulu. So we see that Avram Avinu was a tluchias of Shemin, a very, very high Shemin. He just moving around. As they go here, do this, do that, go over here, now you go down and Mitzrayim, come back out of Mitzrayim, get your hair, and all that was in order. That should be the uniform Agadlo, Agadlo Shmech. And those are the Pshat, Agadlo. Yeah, I will cause your name to become great. Pirush, not your name will be great, but I will cause your name. In other words, Alidei me, your name will be great. Sure. Right, so now we start off a new Indian, B'Siyat Ishmael Shabbos Pas Vayera, Tofresh Dalet Ayin Dalet. We missed on something.
The Kitzur.
The
Kitzur.
Huh?
The Kitzur.
We missed on something?
Yeah, we didn't do the Kitzur.
Oh, we didn't do the Kitzur. I thought that's what I'm sorry, I thought that's what we were doing. Okay. Kitzur. Omnam. Keteiros te Yom Kippurim b'Kodesh HaKadoshim. Yeah, the Mila of the Vedas HaKeteiros on Yom Kippur, which is Davke Alidei, the Knisa of the Kohen Gadol. Lifnai or Lifnim in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, who in a tshuva. Well, that's mamshik precisely mipnimius hakeser, mamish from the Indian from Pnimis Atik. Dehine isa b'idraba mori de chutma, or those who they have literally the choitam, or those that their Indian is the choitam or madrege, the choitam michad nukve chayin, from one hole of the nose. There goes out chayin, or michad nukve chayin de chayin, And we already touched up Arichas, that Chayin is in from Makiv HaShaychel HaPnimi, the Hainu Chayo, and Chayin, the Chayin is in from Yechida, and even L'maylam Yechida, and that's Tavki through the in from Oyer Choiza. In other words, that the Nukva Hayamini is Oyer Yosha, no Maila Ramata, and the Nukva smaller is Tavki Oyer Choiza, no Matala Maila. And we saw that the Choitem is Kli Hanishoma, Zeu Shu Shara Amoichin. That is Kli Hanishoma, that's because it's the Shar of the Moichin. That Tavki through the Choitem you come to the Inyan HaMoichin. V'hainu, what sort of Inyan in Moichin? Atzmus HaMoichin. And we saw, we'll soon touch that again. Upe, the Inyan from the mouth is the Shar L'chitzonis HaMoichin. That's the Inyan from Dibur, is also Nimshach Halidei Moichin, but that's the Inyan from Chitzonis HaMoichin. Shom Kishur Etzem HaNishoma. In the Atzmus HaMoichin, or that's the Etzem Iskashus of the Nishoma Guf. And we saw that that's the Iskashus of the Etzem HaNishoma. The Etzem Minyan from Roifa Kol Boso, Mafli La'ah says that it can be the Etzem Iskashus of the Neshama Beklal in Guf, and that's how the Etzem, or whatever aspect of the Etzem is Miskal in the Guf, well that's where it is in Atzmius HaMoichin, that's where the Kesher is. All the other Kishorim of the Neshama in the Guf are only Alidei Giluim from the Neshama. But the Ischabros of the Etzem is in Atzmius HaMoichin. Like we saw that the Koyach HaHiloda, and all those inyonim are nimshach tafki from the Atzmius of the Moichin. And we saw that Atzmius of the Moichin is even L'maylam in Stam Pnimi is not mamish the Etzem of the Moichin mamish. And so we saw Mishom Nimshach Beis Hamshoches. From the union of Atzmius HaMoichin, or from the Moichin Beklal, is Nimshach to Oifani Hamshocha. Chayin is Uklolos HaChayis. And we saw that's the union of Chayis Kloli. When we say Klolos HaChayis, we mean the union from Chayis Kloli. So on the Neshama, Kemoya Tefika B'Oyer Pnimi. We saw that the Oyer Pnimi, which is Mamish Mislavish in the Guf, has the union of what we call Tefika de Liba, the beating of the heart, or the, how they call it, the pulse in the blood. Well, that was the union from Rotzoi V'Shoiv, and that's how the makif of Chaya is able to be oiches in the Guf, alidei Rotzei V'Shoiv Davka. Because since it's a union from a makif, that's a kilo hamshoch of his talkis, and that's a noise and koyach into the inyan apnimi. Evolved as the inyan at the fika apnimi. That leads eventually to the slapshus of the apnimi in the Guf. Chayin, the Chayin is Atzmius HaNeshama. But we saw that means Atzmius HaNeshama Mamish. But Dugma L'mayla, Chayin is Makif Doyer Yosha, but Chayis Kloli Doyelements. Chayis Kloli mean the Makif, or Seiv of Kolalmin, or the Seiv of Kolalmin are Shai to Elements. The Chayis Kloli is Makif. But it's a Makif, a Shayach Ela, a Pnimi. Gilui Oyer, as I manik. Gilui Oyer Shemeya, that doesn't require, I have a feeling that that's a slight mistake. It should be Gilui Oyer, not Gilui Oy, because Gilui Oyer doesn't quite make any sense. Gilui Oyer Shemeya HaMakif, or Shemoisif Oyer Bia Pnimi. Either it's a Gilui Oyer that the Makif is Meya Mamish, but that's Chayo Bifnei Atzmai, and then that's an avoida in avoidus makifim, but it's a makif which is still comes mitzad hasoga, as we saw, or it's a union of moisif pnimi, that it killing is nice and koyach in the pnimi. We saw that the union from Rotzei V'Shoiv, but that's moisif koyach in the pnimi, that it should be able to be mislavish in the Guf. If not that Rotzei V'Shoiv on the part of the makif, there wouldn't be shy to hold his slab just at the pnimi. But Chayin, the Chayin is makif the Choizer, Pnimius Atik, Alidei Atzmius Moiches Timoa, Beginus Avira. And we saw that was the Avira that gave Kruma. We saw at the end of the last os, but that's brought down in Kabbalah in Likutei Torah. That's a Gilui Das Elyoin in the union from Moiches Timoa. Or das a Das the Atik, das is Mamish Pnimius, Mamish Pnimius Atik. וזהו דממוקים שבעלי תשובה הם dim tzadikim gemurim gam berusa deliiba, even though they have the makif of Yosha, they have the senior of Gilui makif, but since it's only the union from Yosha, einam yechelim lamoi, they're not able to stand in the madrega the bali to shuva. Validei zeh gam zedenis nasu zochiyes. We saw that union is so profound. It creates such that oil choizer is so great that it's ma'ira mamish in Pnimius Atik, and it brings the Zedainus into Zochiyeh. Like the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya Perek Zayin. It's mahapik, because it brings to the union of Araba Kol Kach, and it becomes a schus, even though it began as a Dova Hofchi. V'zeu shemen mishchas kodesh, Lamaila mechitzenius chokmas ma. That's also, in my opinion, a little bit of a slight, I don't know what is the kavanah there, because we saw that that's the union from Shemen HaToiv, which is Lamaila me Shemen Mishchas Kodesh. On the contrary, we said that Shemen Mishchas Kodesh was from chitzenius chokmas ma. But Shemen HaToiv was the union from Pnimius chokmas. So I must admit I don't quite understand what is the union there. I have a feeling that maybe that's also a slight misprint, or the kavanah is to say that that there's a madrega where Yosha, but that's Shemen Mishchas Chodesh, and even though that's got a certain Indian with chitzenius, but it's l'mayla mistam chitzenius. But there's enough kamina lapo in any of there. I have a feeling there's some slight miscalculation in the actual copying of the union. It doesn't seem to fit clear with the pshat of the minor. But anyway, whatever, we saw that was the union of Shemen, how it's l'mayla from Shemen HaManoira, no, this is the Shemen HaToiv, well that's the Pnimius of Chokmas Tima, and the Zedainus Nasi Kizochi. The union Moshiach, we saw that he's going to be Moirach Badoyin, he will smell and judge. Achmius Chokmas Tima, that he'll, through the union Reach, he'll be able to see the Pnimius of Atmius of every person, and he'll be able to know where he's holding Mamish. Well, that's the union of Shemen HaToiv. V'alkein also liyaspo tzadikaya b'ti, even though there'll be betachas hashleimus mitzad ha'or Yosha, mitzad the makif of Chayo, but they'll still have to have an aliyah in the or choizer, dak in the union ha'tshuva, and that was, according to the Alter Rebbe, that was one of the giluim of the union from Pnimius HaTorah, b'sof kol ha'doiros, that it should be dafke even on tshuvta, and tshuva achmius, even shayat to tzadikim. V'zeu v'ayema Hashem el Avrom, the b'chtei lagir le'atzmis chokmas timoa, lech lecho, milmata l'mayla, machiv, to reach the machiv of Yechida, v'agad lo shmecha, b'china shem aleph, the shem, one and only shem, v'yesh lema, b'china shmoiha, atzmi, that's mamish akol bi'atz, atzmusei mamish. Is Bamera, that's that. That's that mimer. So we'll just make a brief start on the coming mimer. It's not anything to finish something and not be mamshir. So at least we'll learn the shilas, and that'll open us the door for the biur ayin in the coming sure. Yeah, b'shat d'ishmaya Shabbos Pasha Vayero Tafreish Ayin Dalid. Now this is the famous pasuk that brought down of Hashem Oma Hamachasa Ani Me Avraham Asher Ani Oseh. But this is the pasuk before the even Hafeiches Dom, when the Eibusha sent the Malachim already on their way to be Mahapik Dom, and Avraham went to be Mavad the Malachim, and then he stood and he was going to look at what was happening and so on and so forth, So therefore the Eibishter informed him what he was going to do with Sdom, and then Avram Avinu tried to be Mevakesh, Shema Yesham Kama V'Kama Tzadikim, etc. That's the Seder Hadorah. But before he reveals to Avram what he's going to do, then he says, can I then hide from Avram Avinu what I'm about to do? Behold, Avram's going to be such a tremendous Goy Godel V'Otzum, so how can I possibly hold from him? And that's the famous beer, both in the Pshat over there and in all the Sfarim. What's the connection? Why did David say, how can I hide from him? Avram is going to be a great person. In Pashtas, since he's going to be such a Goy Godel, then it's only right that he should know what I'm about to do, that I should inform him. And like Rashi brings it, since I made him a Balabasa of all the peoples there in the area, it's not proper for me to affect him in any way unless I tell him, because he's like the Father, and all of those are his kinder, as they bring Rashi, as you no doubt remember. At least they taught in Rashi. And then there's a famous other section where Man, Asher, Yovi, Hashem, Avram called, a whole big arich over there with Laman, because Avram will be Mitzaves Bono, V'Arov, this. What's all that got to do with it? But we have enough problems as it is, without going into that whole Bios of the Laman, and so on and so forth. However, in Pashtas, Dave was just saying, how can I hide from such an unbelievably great person of mine, Avram Avinu, and particularly that I've given him the whole area, then how can I hide from him what I'm about to do? So the Rebbe asked a very interesting question, a very basic shaila. What sort of how can I hide from Avram Avinu what I'm going to do? Which means that I'm about to do it. If I'm about to do it, then what sense does it say, how could I hide it from him? I wouldn't have hidden it from him anyway, because everybody's going to see it in a short time around. When is it right to say, how can I hide from him something that I have? It's when nobody else is going to know about it, and I say, he's such a great person, how can I hide from him things that are only shy to me? Then it would make sense to say, how can I hide from him? Oh, but if in a poor show, as they say, in another few hours, everybody's going to see everything, and everybody's going to know that Stone was now Pach. What they're going to do is, it was shy to say, how can I hide from Avram what I'm going to do? I have to tell him my secret. What's my secret it is? It's going to happen anyway in another short while. It wasn't the mile from hiding it from him, Bishlav. Zekila, how can I possibly hide from him? I have to tell him now. I mean, anyway, he's going to see it shortly. So we could say, and some people learn the Pshat, Dave used to reveal to Avram Avinu a bit before, because he wanted to see if Avram Avinu would be Melamed Schutz. He wanted to give him the possibility to be Melamed Schutz. But that doesn't fit so much the idea of Hamachasa, and he killed some tremendous sword here, and I want to hide that from him, but how can I possibly hide it from him? I have to be Megali in my sword. It's a Dova Katsui. If all the Abish wanted, that's not really being Megali in a sword. He's telling him something to give him the opportunity to prompt him into doing something about it. It's not a hint from Gilu's sword. If state, how could I possibly hide? It must be that I could have hid it and say, Inif and Sod. He's a Sod Yesh Bezer. It's a very basic question. The Rebbe said, the Rebbe, Cholik Lo, Miachasher Ima, Asher Ani Oiseh, Harizeh Gilui. That's a thing that's going to be real. The Koyo Asiyah, who is Galas Tova. Doing something means you're going to bring it into Gilui. If I'm going to do something, then it's going to become a Amachias ve'imke mahuin and amachasa ani. What is the kill the tamor? How can I possibly hide it? Mahashaya kisi bedova David alige Louis. I mean, what are you saying? How can I hide it from him? You're not going to hide it from him anyway, because it's anyway going to come. At this moment, it's not come, but it's avida alige. Avida means it's ready to come into Gilui. So I mean, what would it be shaykh anyway to hide it from him? It's anyway going to be So I mean, what is the whole question by the Avda? How can I possibly hide? It's not shy to hide it anyway. Over Medrash Rabbah Omru al Zeh Ho D'Ksiv Seid Hashem Le Yereyo. it's written, the Medrash Rabbah brings down in reference to that pasuk that the Sod Hashem is le Yereo. We can see from this whole inyan that the Abba said, how can I hide from Avraham Avinu what I'm going to do? Well, that's a sign that the secrets of the Abba he gives Dafka Yereo, Dafka those who fear him, he gives them his secret. But there's a whole big arichas over there in the Medrash about the Milah. What the Milah is called Sayyid Hashem. Dafka for the from Milah, Avraham Avinu was zeicher to this Gilui. Or in the end of Maskana is that this is the great secret that David he's gonna destroy the storm. So as all the show was far secret it is. I mean it's Kate talk there. Ever Sayyid Hashem la Yereo when you get to the Milah, that somebody who's got Milah, he's Ra'ui that Hashem should give him all sorts of high in him if he's a very special and holy person. He really serves the Eibishter. And the Milah makes it possible that he should be able to see the Pnimiyas. And he's not nechas in the Chumis and the Chitzainia. But what is it that Sayyid Hashem L'Yireo, I think that it's just about to happen anyway. It's waiting to be revealed. It's ready to reveal itself. Oh, there's a big helam before the Gilui. Hashem wants to give him that. He should have that helam before it comes into Gilui. That's Gilui the Sayyid. He's giving him a helam before it comes into. He's giving the Indian out his beheler. The fellow will give him a Gilui, that madrege, now it's still behelomai. So the Rebbe says, you do it, the helam shekoidim lagilui, ain't the helam there, emes. If something is already holding by legilui, then the helam is not a real helam. In the helam, you already hear the gilui. He would already, he's going to reveal him the helam of the hapeichus dom. Hapeichus dom is already ready in that helam. It's already close to the gilui. So what would he be revealing him? I saw by telling him about the helam. Shaharihu gili be'etzem. It's already a inyan for gili in its very essence. Rakshu nelam mi'amakablim. Sha'in ze helam be. There's one of the two madregas in helam. There's a helam asosam mi'amakablim, and there's a helam asosam mitat etzem minyonai. In other words, a helam asosam mi'amakablim is not really sosam be'emes. It's called a helam makablim. It's waiting to be missed. A helam asosam mitadatzme, well, that's an amitius a helam, which is not chayt to the makablim. On that we could have said, Sayyid Hashem L'Yireo. If it was a helam, it would never come L'Gilui. But since it's anyway waiting to come to you, the Abba is already intending doing it, then the helam is not a real helam. What do you say? No, he revealed to it in a level before he made it Gilui. That's the Sayyid Hashem L'Yireo. She said, change the helam b'yem. V'im kein, mahu inyan ha'machasa ani, what's the big tema? How can I possibly hide from him? It's not trying to hide it anyway. It's anyway coming into Gilui. Wasn't the ganze Sodda. Aber Medrash Rabbah Pasha, Nosa Isa, Nosa Elokim es ha'olam liyav. Well, the Dave, she gave the whole world to Avram, Shenema Oma, Hashem Oma, ha'machasa ani miyav. Well, can I possibly hide anything from Avraham? And the Medrash over there learns that means that the Eibusha gave him everything. The Eibusha gave him all the inyanim of the world. Kol ha'elam nosan elav. So there was a tzarich lahovi in Heichon, Merumas, b'meshech kosev, v'om Hashem ha'machas ani. Can I hide from him? What I'm going to do, where's Merumas in those words that he gave him the whole world, but take your other. Even Marumas, b'meshech kosev, Hashem omah, machas ani, shenosan es ha'olam liyav. But gam mahu inyan shenosan le'esolim. What the heck does it mean, be'etzem, that he gave him the world? And where's the Marumas in? V'om Hashem omah, machas ani Avraham. V'im kein, v'gam tzarich lovin telchera, mahu ischatches b'zeh. What would be new in giving the Olam to Avraham? Alo iksiva, oretz nosan livnei Adam. Shomayim l'Hashem, oretz nosan livnei Adam. Before Matan Torah, particularly as one, that was the Matthias. That all the inyanim in Ruchnis were l'mayla, and all the inyanim l'mata were l'mata. Is remember, the Abba already gave the world to the Nivroim l'mata. It wasn't a pshat, was it a pshat? the Nosan is Oilam Le'Avromo, Vinu, everybody's got the world. Our Nosan Livneo, Adam. Im came out is Chachis, Nosan Elikim, as Oilam Le'Avrom. Yeah, we come to the Glohovin Mashaoma, Viavrom Hoyoye, Lagoi Godel, he'll be a great people. The Mashmoz Inian, Shahin Shayochim Zela, the Lefi Hamachasani, that I can't possibly hide anything from Avrom. Al Kain Avrom Hoyoye Lagoi Godel, that'll make Avrom into a great people. Tzorich Lo and Ma'u Shaychas Inyanim Zela. What is the greatness in Avrom Avinu that Kilu will make him a great people rather, not so much the diuk is that if we're talking about Avrom himself, it's more if the Eivsher reveals him his secrets, and that's a tremendous mile. That would be a mile in Avrom Avinu. Or was it Pshat Avrom Hoye Yeh Goy Goder Godel? It's mashma because the Avrom can't, the Eivsher can't hide the secrets from Avrom. That because of that, there's going to be a great nation that will come out of Avrom. It wasn't even for a Goy Godel. He'd have a great nation because he was on a madrega that the Eivsher didn't want to hide any secrets from him. Was it the Shaychas of those in Yonim Zela? So, since we're holding by bedtime stories, therefore we'll have to call it off for this evening. And just that we have to understand what's Vashayl, Beklal, what does the Medrash mean over there? Nosis Pashanosei, that Nosis Nesoilam Liav Avruham, because Rashi brings, like we just said, Rashi brings here that how can I hide from Avrom Hashani Oseh? Yeah, Rashi brings over there how he's got the Kol HaRotzes given to him. All the people in the Kirul belong to him. Ki Avrom, he's going to be how do you call it? Av Hamoy Goyim. He's going to be an Av Hamon Goyim. All the Goyim are shy to him. Is how can I destroy the people who are shy to him without first of all informing him that I'm going to do it. That's at least 18 Rashi does. What is the Tosefes in this Medrash from Pasha Nosai? What does that add by saying Nosan le'Avrom is Kola Ilam? I just covered off on my beer. Was it the Tosefes of that Medrash? The Rebbe said, was it Beklal? Before Matan Torah, there was anyway, all the Inyonim V'Lamata Bo'ilam was shaykh to everybody, and Elikus was in an Eiv from Lamaila, and Nosan Levnei Adam. We have to say there was some Chiddush in Avrom Avinu that he got as Kol HaOlam. Was it these Chachas B'zeh? What is he different than the Klolos Amin that B'Oiseh as man that he got the whole Olam? That's what we have to say at the Kashia. If that's the case, even before Matan Torah, way back in Yenatai, Avrom Avinu already had his hands on the whole world, and he had everything. Dave said to me, he give mouths. And David said he can't possibly hide any Seidas from him. And when they come to Arichas Ha'inyan, what's going on around here? What is happening around here? Is all David said, give me Yidden. I won't say the Shir from the Kloizmer, because that's a good word. He said a Pilgati Gizach. But he said that, when the Yidden went out from Mitzrayim, the Yishalu, Ish Miruyusa, they took all this tremendous riches, they took it, they called it like a neighbor, they took it, they persuaded the people to lend them, they didn't intend giving it back. And whatever they get, they just Midishla from the Mitri. So he said, and later we see the Gemara brings in Sanhedrin, the famous Mazen with the other guys in it. What was his name? Even Gessis, what was his name? He was written that he had a hip on his back, one of the Chachomim. And the Mitrim came with a time and he said, you took away all of our geld, you never gave us back. He said, you're only taking it Bashola, you never gave it to Gemara and Sanhedrin. What the guy said, I've forgotten his name. Anyway, he was one of the, he had a sort of hump on him, he had a special name. So he answered, he said, what about all all the 600,000 people who worked for you for 210 years, where the geld for them, where the masqueraders. He says that what they stole from you is probably not even, a fraction of what you really owe them. When I heard that, the Mitchum sind not laufen geworden. Aber der Kreuzberg sagt, noch haben wir das. Aber so viele nehmen das bei ihm größer, so ein bisschen Musa, wie kommt es hier? You should take it in Shaloi, even this. Even the lady container was anyway really shy to me. So the Kreuzberg is out that in Emerson Yidden had a Barabatim color oilam. The Eibste gave him as color oilam cooler. that from the races of Bria, which really soils and he could raise them, I don't see in it, that really everything is shy to Yidden with other etim he yoisal. And the inner of the Shivud Mitzrayim with the ganze those, that was just like a kli to be Megala that Mitzrayim owed them all the money. Over the embassy, that the whole world is shy to Yidden and everything is really in their bylaws. And therefore the ganze bigger readers that say that. However, it's not just there, it's so Kaloilam. Yeah, Kulei, not only have Rome, as they say to them, I mean, was it a whole purpose? But the is like the Rebbe said, not just the Tuike in it, that's the whole problem. But these peoples, and from way back, it's not the Golas, it's not the Yidden Ashuli, it's a terrible Indian of the Golas. The Golas mentality, you remember the Rebbe spoke about that on so many occasions. It's around by Yidden. We can't possibly demand anything else. Anything shy to us, we can't possibly do that. It's not done in the world. Yids are one and everything. Pete for care, don't come to the Yid of one and house. Let them demand. They have to demand from you. I do that say every state. Vayatza Yigvul Esaylem LeMispar B'nai Yisrael. That they have to fix up all the Gvulas of the Goyim according to the Mispar the Yidden. He made it. Well, anyway, I see we're talking to the pre-bedtime stories, Madrigas of Choponim. It's a good shayla. Imam, we have that is moving that there's one and only Eita. The Melech Moshiach has to do it. He already showed that he's not mispour from anything. And he already showed that he was Megala the Amos Ataker. The trouble is we all slept around and we didn't, we happened what the takers that the Rebbe really revealed.